I have a secret I'm going to share with you. I study manipulation campaigns because, well, I have something to admit. I'm what many would consider a conspiracy theorist. Growing up, my sweet Gram would often say to me, I haven't voted since they killed the Kennedys. I once asked her respectfully, but in exasperation, just who are they? She nodded and said, You're too young to understand now, kiddo. But you will. Pay attention, always question, never believe what they tell you. You'll be okay. Read lots of different sources and don't let them tell you how to think, ever. May my sweet Gram rest in peace. The wisdom she imparted shapes how I do my job today. It's not that I don't believe what people tell me. I believe they believe it's true. I am skeptical of everything now, and I study the manipulators of social, economic, and political issues on your behalf. Welcome to what keeps me awake at night besides my 2 rescue dogs. I recognize that many of my findings and recommendations are most likely not directed at you. Chances are it's for you to help someone else know how to spot the manipulators conducting their tradecraft. However, we all fall prey to our own confirmation biases. So maybe there's a nugget or two that I'll share today that could be helpful for you. Manipulators promote misinformation to encourage populations to doubt what they believe. Big tech firms have made progress and inroads, but they admit they have more to do. International law struggles to keep up as well. NATO regularly publishes the Talon Manual, a guide on how to handle international cyber attacks. Yet it is not clear to me that something as significant as people peddling in disinformation during all global elections, as well as the dox and dump that happened to the Clinton campaign during the 2016 US presidential cycle, would actually result in jail time for those involved, much less have any coverage by international courts and laws. As someone who has personally vowed to protect our nation and our allies, businesses, and global citizens from cyber manipulation campaigns and digital break-ins, I find this lack of legal recourse highly objectionable. Now, Warren Buffett says that cyber warfare is the greatest threat to mankind, even more so than nuclear weapons. I agree, but I suggest that as threatening as those cyber attacks, the hacking of information and systems is to imagine, perhaps the hacking of our minds may be worse. Manipulators are already targeting many areas of our lives, the stock market, cryptocurrency valuations, the outcome of our elections, and yes, the COVID-19 vaccine rollout. Their actions are shaking the foundations of the world's most resilient societies. Although political and social espionage is centuries old and, yes, well documented, technology gives it a new twist. And the manipulators have been honing their tradecraft for over a decade. As a matter of fact, in 2013, the World Economic Forum posted its top 10 trends on its watch list. Guess what was on that list? Online misinformation. That was back in 2013. According to many reports, nearly 80% of the time, Russian cyber operatives are behind manipulation campaigns, meddling in just about every social economic issue around the globe. For the record, Russia denies it. Other cyber operatives sometimes have manipulation campaigns such as China, North Korea, Iran. For the record, they also deny it. Also playing in this realm now are local and social political activist campaigns. Who needs rogue nation states when your own citizens have picked up the manipulator's playbook? You may ask, why do cyber operatives manipulate? Well, the end game is to make you doubt everything you believe, which leaves you open to believing anything. Research shows that a false story reaches people 6 times faster than does the actual news or the truth. I learned another disturbing fact while I was studying the various manipulator ecosystems in the research for writing my book, Manipulated. And it's this. It's incredibly lucrative. I thought it was about picking winners and losers when I started the book. But actually, when we click read, repost, and share, The best in the manipulator business make money, loads of it. The reason I am honored to have this time with you today is I need your help, because as hard as it is for a career technologist like me to admit, we cannot technology our way out of this issue. Now, I know this is a really smart audience, so I know you know what a manipulation campaign is, but chances are you may need to describe it to your favorite auntie, uncle, colleague, or friend. So I'm going to give you a couple definitions you can use with them. It's often truth amplified, it can be truth mixed with disinformation, and it can be complete disinformation. It's placed in such a way that gets you to act, or in some cases, not act. Think about people thinking that their vote doesn't matter, so they don't vote. Now, disinformation is a little nuanced from misinformation because it's deliberate. Misinformation, sometimes the person passing it along, there's no intent, it just fits their confirmation bias. The other thing you need to know is that a manipulation campaign is the highest form of organized and strategic placement of misinformation and disinformation. Here are just a few examples of disinformation, and yes, they snuck right past algorithms and governance bodies until humans intervened and flagged them. The first one I want to talk to you about was in August of 2020, that tragic day when the explosion went off in Beirut. Hundreds of people died and hundreds more were injured. Within hours, fake and fabricated videos were distributed claiming that Israeli war missiles caused that explosion. During the early 2020 presidential campaign, disinformation memes claimed that then candidate Kamala Harris was disqualified to run because she was not a US citizen. They were playing off of the fact that her parents are Jamaican and Indian immigrants. It got enough traction that anchor Chris Cuomo on CNN said Harris needed to prove her US citizenship. He later apologized, but him mentioning it on the news gave that fake story life. No issue is off limits. As a matter of fact, the Koch family farms, no relation to the politically active Koch brothers, was hit with a disinformation campaign by a Russian troll. The Russian troll accused this family farm in Pennsylvania of poisoning people with turkeys. Yes, you heard me right. We are now weaponizing turkeys. Now, because we are in a global pandemic, I want to talk to you about manipulation campaigns and the topic of health. One rough estimate shows that misinformation on public health alone generated billions, that's with a B, of social media views in only 1 year. There's a poll in the UK that found that 8% of UK residents believe that 5G technology actually spreads the coronavirus. In the United States, 27% of Americans are hesitant to get the COVID-19 vaccine, much in part due to manipulation campaigns. These theories are just a small part of a global infodemic that is running largely unchecked on social media platforms. It doesn't have to be this way. I am optimistic that democracy will be more resilient, but we have to collectively work together. We have to work this issue across nations, big tech, academia, news media, and yes, you and me. We can and will win this war against the manipulators. Now, who are behind these manipulation campaigns? It varies, but it's everything from unscrupulous business competitors to unscrupulous political operatives, as well as cyber criminals and, you guessed it, unscrupulous nation states. How are they doing it? Well, for starters, the perpetrators are using a variety of different techniques, but right now, social media is their distribution platform of choice. As I interviewed experts and hackers conducting manipulation campaigns for my book, I grew increasingly concerned about the ability to create deepfake of everything, both now and in the future. New cottage industry services such as MrDeepfakes.com, hashtag this is not suitable for work, only require a decent graphics card, some patience, and 10 steps. Only in this case, it only required an hour And you were able to remove Putin's face and replace it with Kevin Spacey's. A few years ago, this would have required technical know-how and or thousands of dollars to pull off. Now you have a how-to guide, a GUI, and guess what? You don't even need to know Python to pull this off. While doing my research for Manipulated, I came across the case of female investigative journalist Rana Ayoob. After an 8-year-old Kashmiri girl was brutally raped, Ayoob was openly speaking about the fact that she felt there was a cover-up that involved an influential man and perhaps senior government officials. Internet trolls began to attack her. They started forging tweets from Ayoob's account, saying things such as, "I love child rapists, and if they are doing it in the name of Islam, I support them." This was horrible enough on its own, but then her likeness was edited into a pornographic video that was released online. The threats against her life escalated, and the United Nations had to step in and ask India to protect her. One victim of this type of attack is one victim too many. So after unmasking various peddlers of misinformation schemes, I've seen recurring themes and patterns that I want to show you they use to commit their fraud. It's typically 3 overarching steps. First, you create whatever your news story is going to be, and you post it on state-sponsored news, as well as independent news sites that look like they originate from a country. You then use innocuous but popular hashtags and a combination of people, fake personas, and bots to spread it alternately throughout these different sites, creating almost like an information laundering. And then you just repeat this over and over again until it takes a foothold. So how can you help your loved ones, your colleagues, know how to spot these? A couple of red flags that I want you to look for and to tell them to look out for are sensational headlines. Perhaps a topic that is not being reported on traditional news media outlets could be another red flag. They typically have to source and vet before they publish and post. Also, memes are the hardest to spot, and a favorite tool that is used by nation states that want to target the demographic of 25 years of age and under. Here are some samples of memes that have made it past social media flags for disinformation, so they circulate freely. I'm going to move quickly. I just want to show you how memes can be amateurish, but then quickly lead to more sophisticated messaging and memes by using very subtle kernels of truth and mistruth. You'll see it compared to DNA, to flu shots, to populations of people who, for religious reasons, don't typically seek out medical attention or vaccines. I decided for our time together to unmask a manipulation campaign related to the COVID-19 vaccine rollout. Ideally, your opinion on whether or not to get the COVID-19 vaccine should come from medical advice from your family medical professional, perhaps then taking it and relating it to your own personal situation. Whether or not you decide to get a vaccine or not to get a vaccine, I'm not here to judge you. I just want to make sure that you are not manipulated by disinformation schemes. Prior to the pandemic, there was actually a collaborative study on Americans and vaccines of children. This study was conducted by George Washington University, the University of Maryland, and Johns Hopkins University. What did they find? That Americans for and against child vaccines were joined by covert Russian operatives, posting both for and against vaccines. As a matter of fact, their favorite hashtag was #VaccinateUS. Why would Russian hackers care if US kids are vaccinated? They don't. That's the point. Russia has almost 100% vaccination rate of their own children. What you have to remember is the ultimate goal of most manipulators, including these trolls, is to rile up a country's citizens, foster unease about any particular issue, and make us distrust medical experts and government authorities. And their work opened the door to the manipulation campaigns unfolding today as it relates to COVID-19 vaccine rollout. In looking specifically for COVID-19 vaccine manipulation campaigns, I worked alongside one of our senior experts at Fortalice. His name is Landon Stewart. And we worked together, and I'm going to unmask some of this research for you. I want you to know this is the first time I am publicly revealing our findings. I pulled only a small sample of highlights to show you, and I wanted to show you our methodology so you could implement it tomorrow back at your workplace and in your personal life. Our methodology was to use free and open source tools so that you could use these right away. The tools we used for this experiment and this research and analysis were a gaming computer, NodeXL, CrowdTangle, and Botometer. First, we installed NodeXL onto the gaming computer. We fed the tool two search terms, COVID vaccine and hoax. Finally, we allowed the tool to run on the standalone machine for 48 hours, and voila, guess what we had? We had the beginning of a misinformation and disinformation investigation, and guess what? We found lots of it. My lawyer won't allow me to say the overall activity is fraudulent because that calls for a legal determination, but I will allow you to come to your own conclusion. We redacted some of the findings for this presentation. I will cover why in just a few moments. These images you see right here were created with a super cool tool, NodeXL. It's a plugin that creates link analysis of what you find on Twitter social media networks based on any search terms you feed to it. In this case, again, it was COVID vaccine and hoax. This chart is busy on purpose. I wanted you to see the raw results without my confirmation bias on the results. So what are you looking at here? The larger nodes mean that they posted something that had a lot of retweets and reposts and likes in 48 hours. What did we find? The manipulators I'm highlighting for you here, on the surface of their personal accounts, they seem like small accounts. They don't seem like big influencers. They seem small and focused on what? Vaccine safety. And who wouldn't be for vaccine safety? This group hides its true influence by linking their accounts to larger affinity groups on social media. These groups included things such as arts, cooking, fashion, music, sports, culture, and more. They then took truths mixed in with misinformation and created an ongoing rabbit hole for the reader. And looking at the largest group in the middle, that's G1. The search result correlates a now debunked story of a Tennessee nurse who supposedly died during a taped vaccination. In groups 2, 3, and 4, which are on the right of the slide, you will see another story related to the vaccination and subsequent miscarriage of a Michigan-based doctor, also unproven. So what's the overall point here? Misinformation leads the reader to more misinformation. Although our research does support recent reports that nation states and others are promoting disinformation campaigns around COVID-19 origins and the vaccine rollout, we excluded those data points from the analysis I'm showing you today because it's already well covered in news media and industry reports. We redacted the operators behind these examples because they point back to everyday people, in this case, Americans and an Australian. Behind these nodes are a tiny group of roughly 30 people with time on their hands, yet they found a way by our calculations to reach a minimum of 94,000 people in 48 hours, unsuspecting members of affinity groups. Although I've redacted their names, I'll tell you a little bit about them. The #1 influencer is a male that lives in the Midwest in the USA. Newsy stories were circulating from these larger nodes. They belong to a blog which promotes misinformation and disinformation on COVID-19 vaccines. That blog, it's run by an off-the-strip lawyer in Vegas who's in his 70s. Another man from central Massachusetts labels his occupation as truth finder. And finally, one is a white male from Australia. He promotes the reason why his opinions are true is because he has a PhD in economics. And he has been debunked by sites such as Vaxopedia for continuing to push the link between vaccines and ongoing health issues. The data you see here is displayed in the tool Botometer from the University of Indiana's Observatory on social media. It uses a machine learning algorithm to tell you 0, most likely human, to 5, possibly a bot. I'm just going to show you quickly how these nodes looked. Bot-like behavior could include lots of fake followers and repeat postings at specific times. Now, the fourth node while conducting our research was actually suspended. While reviewing the nodes, we also observed that connection from the nodes to this blog. For the purposes of today's conversation, I'm just going to refer to the blog as Acme Blog. The blog promotes many vaccine stories, most of which are made to give you an emotional reaction to tell you that vaccines are unsafe. By using the tool CrowdTangle, a tool created by Facebook, Landon found that the nodes, those individual accounts, expanded their reach through posting and sharing on various affinity groups. Here I'm showing you just a little sample of those affinity groups. For example, one of those nodes linked to a California small business owners group with how many members? 68,000. Well, why link to affinity groups? That seems like a very innocuous way to get your point across. Well, if you target everyone and you get just one believer from each unique micro-segmented affinity group, you can work with that individual to gain a foothold among its many members. We found most of the blog posts were actually written in such a way to appeal to readers in the US, the EU, Canada, and Australia. Now, if you glance quickly at the Acme blog, you may see that it sort of looks like a news aggregator with some stories about individuals. Upon closer look, you will notice that the stories promote the theory that the COVID-19 vaccine is untrue. As a matter of fact, some of these stories are heartbreaking, talking about deaths and miscarriages. A pretty rudimentary fact check will tell you the stories are false. A click on the About Us button shows you there's a call to action. Acme is asking its readers to help continue their hard work by posting, sharing, and supporting them, not just on social media by sharing, but also financially. They do ask you to donate money. Now, to the discerning eye like this audience, you've already seen the red flags as I've been going through the research. But there are enough people in your circle, people that you care about, people that you work with, who may end up donating to this campaign and falling for this information at a time where lives and health is at risk. Digging a little deeper, a little more research from Landon finds that Acme's blog is tied to a parent organization. Both were started right around the same time. Now, we have redacted the address and other information here, but something I want you to rest assured. We have provided all of this research to the proper authorities for processing and handling. Also, what I want you to know is this: no matter how you feel about any hot button issues, such as COVID-19 and vaccines, who wins or loses an election, how decisions get made by your government, or any of today's modern issues, the point is this: the manipulators, they don't care how you feel. They just want to manipulate you. So what can you do about this? Chances are your professional training didn't include how to spot nation states or bots, but with tools like Botometer, now you can. You can even see who picks up a story and runs with it by using a tool like CrowdTangle. The steps that I am suggesting here are typically for everyone, but I've got a couple special ones for people and corporations and any of world leaders and people that set policy. So where can we start? Well, today or this week, I would like everyone to think about always having 3 trusted sources. It doesn't matter, but think about having something local, national, and international, where you know that journalists do their research, do their homework, they do investigative journalism, they trust and vet their sources. Check those news organizations' website directly for yourself. In your daily routine, leverage tools such as Botometer, CrowdTangle, and even the Disinformation Index. I love the idea of having a contest at work, which we've done at my office, also at home, to see who can spot the most egregious manipulation campaigns. Just a parenting note, I'm raising 3 Gen Zs. Having these contests at home are especially helpful, especially with internet memes and videos. Leverage fact checkers as part of your standard operating routines. And if you're watching a video and you're wondering, am I looking at a deep fake? One of my favorite tools I like to go to is the Microsoft Video Authenticator tool. So what are some things you can do in the coming weeks or months? Well, at a company, consider building a playbook around the manipulation campaigns that I just spoke of. Think about having an incident response playbook where either your industry, your executives, or your actual company fall prey to some type of misinformation or disinformation campaign. Go on offense now and create pre-debunking and preemptive measures. For example, what's the worst thing somebody might make up about you? Get those talking points together now. Set up a company operating routine where you are automatically scanning for misinformation about your industry, company, or executives. Train all of your staff that, when in doubt, to contact your security operations center. Now, what are some larger things that we can do? For world leaders, please, if you are listening, work together. We need policy and governance that fights back against cyber manipulation and, yes, cybercrime. Assign a delegate from each nation to meet and work with other nations on some type of an international framework and accord. For those of you that can influence policy and governance, please encourage your leaders to meet with other nations. Also, ensure that news media, public relations firms, marketing firms, and more follow the Helsinki Declaration. What I love about that declaration, just to sum it up, is they advise practitioners to respect the truth, to never knowingly circulate false news. And for everyone, as the saying goes, if you see something, say something. We all have a role to play. Yes, social media platforms and big tech are trying to do the right thing, but they are outnumbered. Report, report, report. And if you get a chance, read or listen to Manipulated. I don't know if you know this, but it is the #1 guidebook on the subject. That is according to my mother. And you know what? You should listen to my mother. Forgive the shameless plug, but I wrote Manipulated to drive a positive outcome after the 2020 elections and looking forward to 2024. This is the crisis of our time. Manipulation campaigns are still in their infancy, but tactics and technology will get only more advanced, accelerated, and imperceptible. It's going to be really tough. It's not going to be easy to stop them. Many organizations, as I mentioned, big tech, nonprofits, think tanks, and government agencies are working around the clock right now trying to stop them, but they need our help. The only fix is for all of us to be enraged by what the manipulators are doing. It is time for this digital generation to rise up against those who are trying to hijack our minds and manipulate what we know to be true. If we act now, our future will take a positive course, one that can detect, protect, and defend against manipulation campaigns. Thank you to the RSA Conference for allowing me to have this time together with you. Thank you, Landon, and thank you to each of you for listening in. Please join me in fighting the good fight. Now, my favorite part of any talk, especially ones with such an enlightened audience like the RSA Conference audience, I know you have questions. So fire away by tagging the RSA Conference and me, Tracker Payton, on Twitter. Thank you again for your time. Thank you for listening. And please don't allow anybody to tell you how to think.